Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our webinar today. My name is John Enney, and I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at MTS Software Solutions. And I'm joined by Jeff Russo, Regional Sales Director of DocuWare. And after a few introductory slides, I'll be handing the presentation over to Jeff to provide a demo of the DocuWare platform. MTS Software Solutions is really excited to be partnering with DocuWare as of the acquisition of Westbrook Technologies, and we're excited to share with you some of the functionality. We think that our Fortis customers will be impressed with DocuWare and impressed with the demo. So the objective today is to provide some additional information regarding the DocuWare platform and its capabilities. And so we don't plan to answer all the questions that you may have, but we encourage you to ask them nevertheless. And you can do so using the GoToWebinar tools. And going forward, you can expect to hear from your account manager and your account executive, and if you submit the questions today, we'll be sure to connect with you and make sure to get them answered for you as soon as possible. So we'll also be distributing the slides, and so you'll be able to share with your colleagues, and we'll make the recording available to those who are interested in viewing it as well. So most of the folks on the call know who we are, but I just want to reiterate MTS Software Solutions. Our mission is to provide technology and services that simplify, streamline, accelerate document and data-driven processes. And we do that through a technology toolkit that includes DocuWare, among other technologies. And we combine that with our expert insights and our professional services team to solve your business problems as it relates to documents and data. And you can see some of the core expertise we have outlined on this slide. With today's focus being DocuWare, it's important to note that MTS Software Solutions is an authorized DocuWare partner. And since the acquisition in 2013, we've been working with our partners at Westbrook and DocuWare to strengthen the partnership and monitor the progress of that partnership in order to continue to provide the best support for our Fortis customers. And we're confident that our Fortis customers are going to be more than pleased with the functionality that you're going to see today, and know that and recognize that it's a next generation technology that you'll have access to when you make the move to DocuWare. So a couple of notes about preparing for your migration. Want to note that existing Fortis customers will be eligible for like-for-like DocuWare licenses with no additional license fees. And that's if you are on a current maintenance agreement and you are on the most recent version of Fortis, and that's version 2.9 prior to the migration. So these like-for-like licenses become available, projected to become available in Q2 of 2016. So it's important to take note of what version you may be on today, and know that if you want to take advantage of that opportunity in 2016, that you'll be required to be on the most current version. A couple of other things to note about migration preparation. Each migration is going to be unique, and so you'll work with your account executive to identify your current situation, your current solution, and determine, based on what you may see today as far as DocuWare functionality, what you'd like your DocuWare solution to look like. And there will be a professional services effort to install and configure DocuWare, and that's going to include the migration of your data, end user and admin training, and the scope of the effort is really going to depend on how you're using Fortis today, and again, how you plan to leverage DocuWare going forward. So you'll be in touch with your account executive to determine the scope and the timeline as it relates to your migration. Another thing to note is that MTS has many years of experience in system migration. We've done this many times in the past for other customers and other systems, and we have an established and proven methodology which can kind of be interpreted using this graphic here. And so, don't want to get too much into the details of this slide, but basically we're going to take all of the configurations that you have in Fortis and apply them to DocuWare, and that's kind of what that professional services effort will be when the time comes. And if you identify new opportunities to integrate DocuWare with other systems, that's another service that we're able to provide. And DocuWare makes that very easy to accomplish. Finally, MTS will continue to support Fortis well beyond 2016, so that's important to note. But another important note is that this is really an opportunity to evaluate, optimize, and expand your current solution. So you can think about new departments, new workflows, new line of business integrations. Since this is a project, it's a great opportunity to evaluate, refine, and expand. So no better way to do that than to know what the functionality and the capabilities of DocuWare are. And so at this time, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Jeff Russo, and we'll take just 1 minute to do that. And Jeff, it should be all yours.
Okay, John, thank you. More than appreciate that. Just, John, let me know that you could see this screen, because the screen should be up for DocuWare.
I do have it, yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, once again, for everybody on this specific go-to meeting, we appreciate this opportunity. And like John had mentioned, we're going to show you all the features and functionality and a little bit of an HR onboarding demonstration, some AP workflow, but just to give you a real feel for document storage and retrieval and some of the bells and whistles that we do have that are inherent within DocuWare. DocuWare doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. We keep things extremely simple, but you'll find that the user interface and all of the technology today, I'd like to call it leading edge technology. So this is your main viewer, and it doesn't matter to DocuWare whether you have this as an on-premise solution that you can access via any URL, meaning if you need to access your documents through Safari, Firefox, Chrome, or Internet Explorer, it's available to you. As well, if you need to find documents off of your iPhone and your Droid device, DocuWare has an app to do that as well. We have cloud-based solutions, and John had mentioned we have 14,000 installations globally. The software is written in 16 different languages, and our home office here in the Americas are right in New Windsor, New York. So we have a local presence, and the best presence of all is dealing with MTS as they roll out and bring it into DocuWare's platform. If you notice here on the left-hand side, we have something that we would call a basket, and a basket emulates an inbox. Most people, as a matter of fact, everyone has the ability to have a desk in their office, and people would walk in and put paper on your desk. They would do that because they want you to access and view these documents before you store them away. Well, if you could physically do that in your office, DocuWare wants to give you the ability to emulate that electronically. Thus, we could have a basket. Every individual within a company could have a basket. You could have a general basket where people can scan from the West Coast into a general basket here on the East Coast. It's irrelevant to us. And these baskets emulate your inbox. We also have cabinets. DocuWare stores all their information in cabinets. It doesn't matter to DocuWare how many cabinets you have, so you can have an accounting cabinet, you can have an HR cabinet, a logistics cabinet, a compliance cabinet, an I-9 cabinet. I-9s have to be stored in their own cabinets. And the interesting thing is the way you control security today is by locking a cabinet. Well, you have Fortis, so you obviously store these in specific search criteria that you have. DocuWare not only controls security rights to the cabinet level, but we could also control security rights to the actual document level. And then we have specific task lists. If somebody has a job that they do all day long, instead of doing a specific search, I could have a dynamic link to that search. And here on the right-hand side is your viewing screen. So if I wanted to bring a document in, I could even drag and drop right into a basket, right off my desktop. And for me, it's just as simple as double-clicking to be able to view this document. So whether I'm dragging off my desktop or doing a specific import, both work extremely well. I start my demonstration in Outlook because the first thing people do every day when they come into work in the morning after they get their morning cup of coffee is they check their email. The real sweet spot within DocuWare is this. Most people are resistant to change. You know this already because you've already implemented a doc management system. Some people embrace it, some may not, but inevitably they have to take on the onus and responsibility of their specific job. Here, in this example, what we say is this: we can keep everybody working in their native working environment and manage documents and not have to reinvent the wheel and not have to change a business process within your organization. And because we're a Microsoft Gold certified partner, we have very tight integration with Outlook and all the Office products that Microsoft has. So you'll notice here I have an email. Some emails have attachments, some do not. How many times have you ever received an attachment and you go to open up the attachment and you get an error code that looks something like this? Well, you might be thinking, Jeff, why would we want to save emails into DocuWare? 3 to 4 very important reasons why. First reason, quite often you'll get messages that you're running out of storage space on your Exchange server and you're moving emails in and out of that platform. Well, DocuWare gives me the ability to either take the whole email with the attachment and store it into DocuWare, or just take the attachment with the email and store it in DocuWare and remove the attachment from Outlook, or leave everything there, but now, once it's stored in DocuWare, other people have access to it. Because how many times you get an email with an attachment and then you forward it to different people within the organization, and now you have 10 copies of that same email and the PDF and the attachments that reside on a shared folder somewhere. Well, now DocuWare gives me the ability to move this attachment just by clicking one button. All these index fields that show up are dynamic in nature. We're taking that off the email. When I store it away, it tells me it's archived successfully in DocuWare, and now you'll notice that where it's highlighted, the attachment is no longer there. It's stored securely in DocuWare. Now you might be thinking, how difficult would it be to find that? Simple. DocuWare gives me the ability to have a specific search engine right here embedded in Outlook. So I could say, go out and search for that specific attachment to this email. And now you'll notice I'm now in DocuWare. I haven't left Outlook. I'm still in DocuWare. I'm in Outlook. And now I can view these attachments in a thumbnail view. I could view them in an index card view. And a lot of people just like the table view. Why do I show you that? Because anyone can custom fit this on the fly. And if they don't like the contact person here, I could just drag it right on over. If I need to view this email, I just click on it. Here's the body of the email, which, by the way, is all searchable text. Now when I go to look at the attachment, what I just couldn't view a minute ago, I can now view within DocuWare. DocuWare has over 300 viewers embedded in the software. And so you wouldn't need any plugins to view this CAD drawing, this DXF file. So now we have the ability to do all this searching and storing into DocuWare from Outlook. As a matter of fact, if you get a phone call at 10:30 in the morning and somebody needs you to find a document, you don't have to leave Outlook either. I could just click on my DocuWare folder, and this takes me right over to DocuWare, where I can do a specific search at any point in time. So now let's go on over. Let's show you how we get paper into DocuWare. I'm going to show you just right off of a copier or a specific scanner, and I'm just going to show a quick little video of how we're just taking paper documents, and I'm not sending it to my cabinet. I'm putting it in my basket because I want to look at these documents. These documents are automatically brought in, and I could view them just by double-clicking, like I said earlier. Here's a driver's license, and again, DocuWare stores everything in its native file format. So if you were sitting in your office today, if all 7 of these documents related to one another, you would probably take out your paper clip or your stapler and you would staple it together. Well, if you could do it physically, I can do it electronically. Now they all become one document, and if I want to store it, notice I have access to 3 cabinets. I can drag and drop into any cabinet I would like, but being that the HR cabinet is already highlighted, I'm just going to click Store. You'll now notice that all these index fields are on the left-hand side. These index fields are defined by you, so you have as many as you'd like. notice one field is highlighted yellow or gold. I could have a drop down to index these documents. I could type it in. Some people like that. But better than that, notice that all of these fields are on my document. So I can just highlight over each one of these fields and automatically index this document. To store it away, I just click Store. I've done taking some HR documents and putting it in my cabinet. If I need to find this at any point in time, notice I'll put the employee ID number. I just need to type in the first number on what I stored in here today, and I could find that document. All the functionality that you could physically have with paper, I could emulate electronically. So if you could write on paper, I could write on paper. I could change the size of the font, the color of the font, the type of font. If I want to draw attention to a specific area of a document, not a problem. If I need to highlight a specific area and change the color of the highlight, not a problem whatsoever. As well, if I need to do redaction to hide someone's payroll or SS number, I can do that easily. And mind you, we only give rights to people, so you could even have annotative rights. You never affect the original integrity of a document. It's just an overlay to that document. And right from here, I can email this document out in the original format or as a PDF with or without those annotations. Also, please make note that when DocuWare does the conversion to PDF, we do a PDF A conversion. That letter A stands for archival, meaning you'll be able to read that PDF 50, 100 years from now. A lot of people have PDFs today, but they may not be legible 9, 10 years from now, so we just guarantee that. Now, why would I want to send somebody a hyperlink? Well, there are many reasons behind that, but think about this. How many times has somebody sent you an email and they ask you for a read receipt? The fact is, 9 out of 10 people never say yes to that. And the proof of that is whenever you send somebody an email requesting a read receipt, you rarely get one back stating that they read it. Well, I could send somebody a hyperlink, and once they open the hyperlink, it's legally permissive in a court of law with an audit trail that somebody viewed that document. If I need to forward this document to my HR manager, it's as simple as stamping it, and I could initiate a workflow by hitting that one button, and now you'll notice I just forward that to my HR manager, and here's the data that he had requested, and all the annotations are on that specific document. So now let's show you how we get digital documents into DocuWare. Here I have an I-9 form, and this is right off the government website. And right on page 7 is where people fill in all their information and their data. DocuWare gives me the ability through the DocuWare printer to just say, okay, let's store that into DocuWare. And DocuWare is going to automatically go to page 7 and scrape all this data and utilize that as an index field. So now if I do a search on my I-9 cabinet on what I stored in here today, you'll now notice here's my document, and now all the index fields that are on page 7 I've scraped off and utilized by pressing one button. And that could be done off of anybody even has an accounting system where they want to print check stubs, we could do and store the exact same document. Also notice that with that same button, I initiated an email and attached that I-9 form right to the body of that email. And then we can expedite specific documents. Here we have boilerplate documents that happen to be performance evaluations. And without even going to the basket, I could skip the basket and immediately go right to my cabinet and populate all these index fields because I've done OCR recognition off this document. And we're going to actually flex our muscles a little bit later on to show you how we do this on the accounting side, but not even with OCR, more of algorithms. So I'm going to show you a little bit of HR onboarding as well. But one thing before we move on I wanted to share with you is this. DocuWare has the ability to take any third-party application and put a button inside of it so we can enable documents out of DocuWare. So it doesn't matter to DocuWare if you utilize, let's say in accounting, you're utilizing Sage 300 or Master Builder or Peachtree, or it could be an old AS400. I could put a button in iTunes if I wanted to. Notice the button that I embedded in my Microsoft Access database. I can click that button and automatically launch DocuWare. And I could find all my documents that pertain to that specific customer without leaving my third-party application. Notice I have Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, Word docs, and a bunch of emails. I have that button in Access. I even did that in my specific iTunes, in my specific QuickBooks account. And I could put a find button anywhere in here to be able to find those specific documents. So now let's head on over to our HR onboarding. Somebody's looking to hire somebody within a company. They receive an email with an application. All we have to do as we receive this email is I can say, let's store this email into DocuWare. You'll now notice that index fields need to be filled in. This specific individual is Peter Strom. Once I hit store, it goes into DocuWare and automatically initiates this onboarding process. And so you'll notice here in a moment, there's going to show up a specific task that's going to monitor somebody hiring somebody within their company. And so now if I close down DocuWare and I come in the next day or that afternoon and I open up my specific browser, this task will appear and it'll be my onboarding task. And there it is. So now it says to me, let's check this application. Do I want to invite this specific individual for an interview? Here's his email with his specific resume. If I invite him for an interview, I can just confirm it. And then Peter Strom is back at home, and notice I'm now logged in here under Peter Strom, and he can get an email from that specific employer that says, we've taken a look at your application, we've reviewed your profile, we'd like to invite you in for an interview. He responds, he goes in for the interview, and now the interview result is either to hire or reject the applicant. Notice a stamp was automatically put on the email. If we hire this specific individual and confirm it, he will now get an email back telling him, we're now making you an offer. The offer was approved. Please go into DocuWare and fill out this specific HR onboarding form. And so now he could put his specific name in. He could put his date of birth in. Let's say it's 09/10/1993. And he could put his social security number in. And his address. And his city and state. We'll just put New York in for the state, zip code. I'll just say 10462. Home phone numbers, email, and I can just say I'm a male as a U.S. citizen. Once I submit this form, his job is complete, but now you'll notice if I go back and do a search on my employee cabinet and search for Mr. Strom, you'll notice now that he's got 8 documents. I just should have deleted these other 4, but you'll notice that now it's automatically filled out a W-4 form, an I-9 form, an emergency contact form. So he fills out one form and it automatically takes care of the W-4 and the I-9. So it just gives us some freedom and flexibility to really, and I really mean expedite a process, which is vitally important. Now if we migrate on over and move over to accounting, because accounting is a process where people really need to enhance their line of business application because there's a large return on investment. So if I go over to my copy and I just scan a bunch of invoices, and I'm going to play another video for you. DocuWare is going to take these specific invoices and automatically separate them. They will separate it by barcode or blank page separation, or we could designate specific type within a document to create this separation. And what's going to happen is DocuWare is going to import this into a basket, and it's an intelligent indexing basket. It's not a regular basket. What this intelligent indexing basket does, and by the way, DocuWare has a patent on this one specific process. You'll notice as documents come into the basket, it's going to automatically, you'll notice this flag that's going up and down on these documents. What's happening now is it's going out to the cloud for crowd learning, and it's looking at the invoice to decide whether or not we already have this specific algorithm and template. Now, why is that? Because a Verizon bill to you is the same as a Verizon bill to somebody on the West Coast. So now you have the ability to leverage that, not the data that's inherent within the document, but the algorithms off it, so we don't have to do any indexing. So if it knows the document, it flags it green. If it's not sure, it'll flag it red or orange, and it takes a couple of clicks to just train it. And that's what is very unique to this one process. It speeds up all the indexing. So now, if I look at these invoices and I go to store it in my accounting cabinet, you will notice that I don't have to do any indexing. It already knows it's an invoice. It knows the dollar value of the invoice. It knows the voucher number, the dates, and I could store it. It'll automatically show and come up with the next document. Here's a phone bill. Totally different looking invoice. Store it away. Notice again, no data entries needed. It's done automatically. U.S. Steel, $1 million invoice. Store. Here's one much smaller, $129, but totally different looking invoice. Store it away. And I'm going to do all 7 of them. I think it's vitally important that you see a couple of things. Number one, this is a document that's another invoice for SAPA, but there's going to be something else attached to this. Let's store this away. And now you'll notice something different about this specific document. DocuWare knows automatically this is not an invoice, it's a purchase order. Let's store it away. In this specific workflow process, here's my workflow. I'd like to call it like a Visio designer. The invoices come in to the accounting manager, and the accounting manager assigns this invoice to a cost center or a person. It's sent to that specific individual or department, and they look at the invoice and they either approve it or reject it. If they approve the invoice, it goes to be paid, but before it gets paid, it goes to look at the total amount. If the total amount is over $5,000, it now needs a secondary approval. This is called an escalation procedure. It has to go to the CFO for secondary approval. And then once it's assigned to the CFO, they can assign it and pay it and approve that to be paid. That's my workflow at this point in time. Now notice I have 6 specific tasks. The question I usually ask the audience is this. I stored 7 invoices, or 7 documents I should say. Why are there only 6 tasks? Because one of those documents was not an invoice, it's a PO, so we took it out. We separated from this workflow. So let's assign these documents to specific people or departments. I could stamp it, or I could assign the specific cost center. And let's say I send this to manufacturing. I confirm it. And let's say the next one I do, I'm just going to do the phone bill, phone wizard. And I'm going to send this to 2 departments, because 2 people have to approve this specific phone bill. And then the larger one, U.S. Steel, let's confirm this one and send it to manufacturing. Now, mind you, whenever you show workflow in the real world, you would have one task and you would just take care of your task and be done for the day. So if I was the accounting manager, I would do the rest of these and I'm done. That's how quick it is to automate that process. Also know this, some of you might be thinking, I don't only get paper invoice. There are many times I get invoices that come in through email. Well, why don't I just open up my email for you and find an invoice? Yeah, here's an invoice. How do I get that into DocuWare? I just click Store to Intelligent Indexing Basket, and now you'll know that this invoice is going to come in and automatically be indexed as well. And there it is. It came into my basket. It's going to be read automatically, and I could store it just as fast. And I removed those index fields just for that one specific document, but that would be green. So now let's go on over to the folks that we sent those invoices to, Brian Ford. Brian has 3 tasks. Here are his invoices. You'll notice it automatically puts the total amount and the open amount. And when I click on the specific invoice, you'll also notice that DocuWare puts a stamp on there automatically. It looks for an empty space on the invoice and automatically stamps it. So let's approve this invoice for $493. Now we go to the phone bill, and I'm not going to approve the whole dollar amount, just maybe $317 of it. And I confirm it. And here's the large one, U.S. Steel. Let's confirm the whole amount. And by the way, I can get this in an email notification as well. It doesn't just have to be in my web browser, because if I happen to be going home or I'm on the subway and I need to approve invoices, I can get them right here, right through my email. So now let's move down the hall and let's make an assumption that the sales manager, he could be playing golf at Pebble Beach. He can get his tasks and he could approve this on his iPhone. Notice that he has the phone bill. I want you to notice 2 things. Number 1, here's the stamp and his counterpart approved $317 of it. Here's the original stamp of where this invoice was sent for approval, but also notice the open amount. DocuWare automatically does the subtraction. The open amount is confirmed, and he's done with his tasks. If we go back to the accounting manager, you will now see amongst the digital cockpit what tasks and what invoices are now ready to be paid. 2 invoices ready for payment, but I approved 3 invoices. Why are there only 2 that are ready to be paid? Well, if you recall earlier on when I mentioned the escalation procedure, if it's over $5,000, it needs a secondary approval. So what happens if somebody, the CFO, needs to look at all the tasks? I want to see who's holding up invoices because I can capitalize on early payment discounts. Well, he can have his own view to see all the tasks, and now you see that that large invoice went to the CFO for approval. I can now pay the phone bill if I'd like to. I could book it instead and send this to my ERP system, my accounting system, and I could funnel data to and from my accounting system, or I could just say make a payment to the system, check number 2134, and now it's paid. If I need to do a search at any point in time and I want to search for Phone Wizard and I want to find out what was stored in here on the date of November 6th, here's my phone bill with all the stamps and approvals on it, and if I need to see the workflow history at any time, I could see this 20 years from now. Who approved it, the time they approved it, the amount that this specific individual approved. This is all, as well, part of the audit trail. DocuWare has an extremely robust search engine, so I could find documents. Even if I wanted to find a document by company name, I could type the first letter in. But what happens if I'm not sure, but I know it starts with the letter T and beyond? I could say, show me all the documents in my database where the company name starts with the letter T and beyond in the alphabet, and I could do a search. I could even do less than or equal to the letter D in the alphabet, any letters for that matter. I have the ability to force fields. I could also say, show me every document that's missing a voucher number. And you'll notice every document is missing a voucher number. I could be very specific, and I could say, you know what, because DocuWare does a full text OCR on every document that we store away, if I wanted to, I could find a document that says any document that has the word customer in it, go out and get it. And I could actually open up that specific document, and if I wanted to thumbnail through, it'll go out and find every document that has the word customer in it. Notice I'm going to and from. It'll funnel through the whole document. until it stops. I've even done something recently where DocuWare gives us the ability to say, show me every document that has the word classrooms in it with the word lab, and I want it to be within 2 words apart. You know, there may not be any documents in there, but if I need it within 4 words apart, maybe I could find some documents. And if I searched in the appropriate cabinet for that, you could be able to do these word searches that show you between to and from, and do that specific word search to find that documentation. And it'll highlight both of those words. And I've done that recently with a specific, this happened to be just a car dealership, where they said, look, I want to be able to find these documents. So I said, no problem, let's go look for the document. Somebody brought their car in, and they had a humming noise on their front brakes. Well, let's show me that. When I do that with 4, you'll now notice we can find those documents. And now notice it highlighted humming and front. So when it comes to storage and retrieval, we could be extremely robust. We could integrate with really any third-party application. We could do that on the front end and not put the pressure on the IT staff. We showed you just how to get paper in. There's so many different ways, whether we're importing documents and finding and searching documents through a cabinet. We lose no functionality in the thin client whatsoever. We have all the ability to handle all of your doc management needs as we funnel and migrate over from that Fortis platform into our DocuWare Platinum, and I believe you'd be more than happy to do that. So, and again, not to overwhelm anybody, we just want to do a nice little demonstration. I will turn this back over, and I think if I open up my screen sharing, John, I can get that back to you and change that presenter.
Yep, and I think I could probably help you with that too. See here.
I've done it already.
All right.
Do you have it?
I believe so. Might take just a moment. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. It's definitely an impressive demo, and I appreciate you taking the time out to share some of that functionality with our customers.
My pleasure.
Nice work. So I hope the folks on the webinar were equally as impressed and have got your wheels turning as to all the different business challenges that you can overcome using the DocuWare platform. And so we thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to being in touch. You can expect to hear from your account executive in the near future. And in the meantime, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to them or to us here at MTS. You can email sales@mts-software.net. And of course, you can visit our website or follow us on social media, where we post frequent updates as to the status of what's going on here at MTS and also with our partnership with DocuWare. So again, we thank you for joining us, and we look forward to being in touch with you soon. Thank you all. Thanks, Jeff.